about for nannies or for families?
Yes, and I just want to kind of piggyback on what you were saying. It is very important that nannies realize that the the industry has changed. However, anytime we have a family contact us or do an initial inquiry, we also do an initial interview with them. So we do not take every family that contacts us because they're not looking for the career nanny or they're not willing to invest what their portion of the piece of the pie that I think is necessary in order to build these awesome relationships between the families and nannies. I always tell nannies, good nannies go through agencies and good families go through agencies because there's already an invested interest on both sides. There's no reason why a good nanny would not utilize an agency because most agencies, specifically mine, we do not take any of their salary. We are just looking to make sure that our pools on both sides are very clean, vetted, invested, background checked. So anytime a family comes aboard, I actually personally speak with them and we go through, kind of a checklist of, is this the right fit for you? Are you really interested and 100% on board with this process? The process is fairly simple for both the nanny and the families. It is not simple on our part. We take this very true to heart. Like I mentioned, I have 3 children of my own. The most important thing that I have ever had to do was make sure they were properly taken care of. And so transforming from a stay-at-home mom to allowing somebody to take care of them on a full-time basis was very hard for me. So I can relate completely when families call me and a mom is a little timid or not sure that she's willing to give up her infant to what she thinks is a stranger at the time. And I do think that's part of the reason why we are really special is we are owned by 2 moms who both of us have had an invested interest in the child care. We are both professionals now, and we're able to do this because we put our children in the hands of nannies. And that was a hard transition. And I understand and I'm very empathetic to families that call me and aren't quite sure of the process. The industry has changed. There's been a lot of people entering it, and there's some really great agencies out there, but there's still some people out there that don't really understand that piece. We have to put qualified nannies in front of families that have been vetted. It is scary, all the things that go on the internet and in Facebook groups and whatever it
Yeah.
may be. But yes, that is a very important piece to our success is that I vet the families just as much as I vet those nannies.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I've never really thought about it, and no one's ever cautioned me on it. And by the grace of God, I've never walked in. Literally, I just didn't think about care.com, these other things. You literally could walk in and no one would ever know, where and it's kind of like baited and on Facebook groups. It can look like something good, but I believe it's just safer for kids, for families, for nannies to go through an agency and to set everything up on a professional, good, solid foundation.
And one of the things I want to point out is our placement fee is fairly low, and it amounts to at this current time a little more than $100 a month for that first year.
Okay.
And to keep your children really safe,
Mhm.
I would think that that additional amount would be way better than
Yeah.
pulling somebody off of a care.com. And a
Yeah.
care.com is not a horrible thing. There is a time
No.
and place for
Yeah.
everything, right? I said
Mhm.
some people want to drive BMWs, some people want to drive Honda Accords. You just need to know what you're looking for and make sure really that your children are at your best interest, not your pocketbook.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just a blessing. And I wish yeah, I wish I knew that there were nanny agencies in Ohio. A lot of people kind of tell me like I didn't even know there was such a thing as nanny agency, like anywhere.
Mhm.
So this is really about just spreading awareness. And I wanted to know if you could speak to people like who are in the daycare setting or have some nanny or babysitter experience. Maybe they have a degree in education, and they're like, okay, I want to come to the nanny agency. Why should I become a nanny as opposed to staying at a daycare or in a school? Like, what kind of compensation packages, like what is typical for like an entry level nanny as opposed to like a more experienced one? Like, what does it look like?
Sure. So,
What is fair?
that transition is fairly easy from a lot of those roles. I always tell, people that are in childcare, rigid childcare situations, as far as, daycares and other center type activities, the transition into being a nanny is fairly easy, in the sense of you do only have one set of children to take care of rather than 12 or 15.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest portion of that in the transformation is building that relationship with the family. I truly feel like good nannies never stop thinking about the families that they're nannying for. And it isn't, oh, it's 5 o'clock, I've got to go kind of, demeanor that they must have, or possess that skill set, in the sense of you always have to be there for your families, but in the same sense, those families are going to become part of you. Like I mentioned,
Yes.
we've had nannies for years. We don't anymore because our oldest child, or our youngest child, is 18. And so I don't think he, as an adult, needs a nanny anymore. Although he'd probably like that. But I think it's very important that people see that, or I'm sorry, that nannies see that transition is fairly easy. Is there some training? Absolutely. Is it different? You're taking care of a household. You're not just taking care of children. So there are some trainings that we do and we offer. Some of our best nannies have transformed even from roles such as nursing, where they already have that background, that empathetic and sympathetic, and are used to taking care of people and making sure everybody's needs are met. Our entry level, I mean, we do not utilize any nannies that have not been a nanny for a minimum of 3 years, have a childhood education experience, or come from that daycare setting. I see it all over the realm. The biggest thing that I tell my families is, just because somebody has a degree does not make them a better child care provider. Sometimes if you want curriculum-based childcare, maybe, but overall, the empathetic and sympathetic is not found in a degree. It is found in experience. It is found in the heart. It is found in a personality. Nannies in Ohio, are looking anywhere between $25 and $35 an hour. That's probably the going rate. I have placed nannies with more experience at a higher level that are willing to travel, take on more kids, transport, take on more household duties. But that typical entry level is about at $25.
Nice. I just think it's wonderful to know if you already, I'm passionate about this because if you enjoy children and you really love and believe in the family unit, helping families, helping moms, like, and you get fulfillment out of that, and you're really just there to serve and like just love being in a home, making things better, making things nice, helping just being a help. That you can take it and transition out of daycare or a school and make it financially advantageous for yourself. And I just wanted to share a little bit. For me, when I discovered this, I have been so blessed. So if there are any employers or moms or families considering hiring a nanny, from a nanny's perspective, from my end, it has been such a blessing to be financially compensated to be able to pay for good health care, to be able to pay off student loans that my mother co-signed, to be able to take care of, pay off my car loan, just have a better quality of life. And I believe out in like some places, um, teachers earn, or professors or other people taking care of children can earn over a six-figure salary, and that definitely can happen. But the entry level, the 50 to 65,000 range ish, is such a blessing. And then that can even, like you said, can go higher when a nanny is willing to travel and they kind of
Well, and the
get
other thing is, you need to, if you stay with the family, you will be rewarded.
Yes.
If you
Yeah.
do a great job, you will be rewarded. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of bonuses families give, Christmas gifts,
Mhm.
monthly bonuses, things like that. But once you prove how important your role is,
Mhm.
there's no going back from there. They can't do
Yeah.
it without you once you prove how important your role is. And
Yeah.
I just, like I mentioned, the Diet Coke situation, I also had children that played a lot of travel sports, and our nannies were so great about keeping their schedules. They would, even in the switch of seasons, they would switch their closets over for me. They put out my holiday decorations, things like that,
Mhm.
that just go above and beyond what you're ever going to get in childcare, what
Mhm.
you're ever going to get, from somebody that's probably on a different website or, a social media site. But I will tell you, they just make a difference for your whole family, and they make marriage a little bit easier. They make grandparents' visits easier, and all those school related activities that are, was this signed, was that signed? And, I always was interested in obviously what my kids were doing at school, but you're going to miss a beat here or there if you're a career mom.
Mhm.
And it was always nice and refreshing to have somebody kind of behind me making sure
Mhm.
that I dotted my i's and I crossed my t's. And I
Yeah.
agree with you, this is a profession
Yeah.
that is underrated. It is a profession
Yes.
that we really need to see more nannies kind of be trained and
Mhm.
understand, that you can, like you said, you can make a great living off of this. And
Mhm.
it is comfortable doing so. You're not,
Mhm.
you're kind of still on your own schedule, and you're kind of still making some decisions.
Mhm.
But it's not super rigid. It doesn't have to be super rigid.
Yes, yes. And being faithful in the 50 to $75,000 salary range, and getting good letters of recommendation, being an integral part of a family. I've evacuated kids out of the Pacific Palisades, not the recent fire, but I'm going into park restrooms to make sure that there's no homeless person or male in the room, in the restrooms. Like I'm thinking about things that on a daily basis. If you have a nanny who is, your kids are coming home every day, they're happy, they're safe, and nothing has happened, it takes a lot of work, especially a 2-year old. You're like
Yeah,
saving their life 10 times a day.
I know,
you're
right?
you're thinking quick. You're like, hey, I could tell that this little guy, let's say like Elliot, was having a little meltdown. So I just decided to pick him up and walk him all the way to the car from the mall, playground or whatever, because he had it in his eye. I could tell he was going to dart in front of cars and people. So he's going to tell you I held him, and I did.
Yes,
And so,
that's
but
okay
it's
though. That's what we want. We want the
it,
loving and the nurturing.
exactly
And
the
I
love, the
always
nurturing.
say that's where it starts, right? Safety first.
Hmm.
When your children are a little bit younger, you just want them to be loved and nurtured and safe. And it's such a great feeling to not have to rush out of the home with bottles and extra diapers and a diaper bag and get to a daycare setting. It's
Hmm.
such a refreshment to come home and everything be tidied up and you can just enjoy your children.
Yeah.
And so those are the things. And while you're at work, know that they're safe, like you said, and somebody else is looking out for their best interest and always has your best interest in mind as well. You have to, in order to be a good nanny, in order to be a good family, to provide for a nanny, there's a relationship there. And I think that is what is so important to me, and why I chose to continue on with the agency, and eventually purchase the agency and work with all these nannies, is that it is so important in life to build relationships in anything you do. And I really want to make sure that children are safe and families are able to go to work and provide for their children and enjoy the best time with their children.
Uh-oh. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said I just really want everybody to be able to, the families to be able to feel safe with with knowing that they chose a good nanny, and the nanny being able to, really enjoy the family. And I think that's what's important in life, is building good relationships. And I
Mhm.
would always put my children first, as a mother. And so
Mhm.
I want to make sure that all the nannies that we use or we vet, are really interested in this profession.